Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, music, games, comic books, food, whatever we feel like at the time, really. My name is Dan with a H, and with me, as always, my co-host Tavi.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? How are y'all doing? Today's topic is my name. Not actually my name, but
your name's Tavi. We all know that already. I just introduced you.
Yeah.
Okay, episode over, right?
Yep, okay. So, yeah, like and subscribe. And, yeah, this one's pretty new, like really new.
It came up on my Netflix as just like this big, massive banner. I feel like it's got something to do with Squid Game being so popular that Netflix is like, oh, here's another Korean thing that you might like, just putting it in my face.
Well, did Squid Game apparently earn Netflix $1.6 billion?
Yeah.
So
it's an incredible return on investment for them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like it didn't cost them that much.
No, I don't think so. Like, yeah, my name it's a action crime thriller noir. It's directed by Kim Ji-min, who has only done a lot of TV work, none of which I've seen, so this is the first time I've seen his work. So-Hee plays the lead as Oh Hae-jin, or the other, so Kim Ji-woo was her other character's name. And then the other characters are Choi Moo-jin, who plays like a Korean gangster.
Played by Park Hee-Soon.
Yeah. And Bo-Hyun as John Pildo, who's like another detective who becomes partners with the lead and the captain of the police, or the captain of the narcotics squad. Kim Sang-ho is the actor for Cha Gi-ho. And yeah, it's basically about the protagonist, who is the daughter of a gangster and witnesses her father get murdered by a hooded man, and she seeks out this gang to help her seek revenge, and then takes a very Infernal Affairs, or more popularly Departed, step into the crime unit, and she ends up kind of being a mole for the gang whilst trying to seek the identity of her father's killer.
So we're going to talk about this show. As we're talking, we'll do non-spoilers first, but then at the end of the episode, we'll do some spoilers. So if you want to go in completely blind into this show, you can watch it on Netflix now. But yeah, like I said, we'll be talking about it without spoiling it at first. And we will warn you once we start dropping spoilers.
Yeah, it's a pretty short watch.
Pretty easy to get through. Yeah.
I normally don't like binging Netflix series. I like to watch episodes like day by day. But this one I was able to watch in a really short amount of time, 3 days, which probably for some people is a long time, but I take my time with series. But yeah, I obviously said Infernal Affairs and Departed are a huge, inspiration for this show, I reckon. But what does the show remind you of?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching it and I was wondering whether it was just a complete adaptation or just inspired by Infernal Affairs or Departed, because it does follow a lot of the same story beats, especially the first half of it. I guess it's not an uncommon, plot of like moles infiltrating, law enforcement, that kind of thing. In terms of the plot, it definitely does resemble Infernal Affairs and Departed, but I guess in terms of tone and style, it's more of like your female-led action movie kind of things. You've got, we talked about Kate before.
Yeah.
Stylistically, it's quite similar to something like Kate or something like Hannah.
It's very, the look of the show, it's very Korean gangster flicks. So like, Choi Moo-jin really reminded me of like Lee Byung-hun's character in A Bittersweet Life. And even a lot of the shots when he is like looking in the mirror. Like there's a scene in A Bittersweet Life where Lee Byung-hun is like shadowboxing.
Yeah.
And that shot is basically the same. All the interior shots in the organization really reminded me a lot of A Bittersweet Life.
Yeah, both of their offices in hotels.
Yeah.
Like, so I guess that's a good comparison. Yeah, definitely the gangster elements of it do resemble like a lot of Korean gangster stuff. So I guess there is that, but I was thinking more of like the action, the fight scenes and stuff. Like they're all kind of close quarters, and there's a lot of like not gunplay, but more. There's a lot of knife fights in this film.
Yeah, knife fights. If you're familiar with Korean action, you're gonna see a lot of knife fights.
Oh, I love a good knife fight.
Yeah, knife fights are sick.
They don't happen as often in the West, eh?
It's a bit too violent, because a lot of like you'll see in a lot of action scenes here, a lot of it is the lead like disarming people with a slash.
Sure, it's quite visceral.
One of the characters tells her when she trains with the gang members, like she'll just never be as physically strong as the guys, and that's a fact.
She is though.
Yeah,
in the movie, she's like
in the movie, pretty much. But he tells her to go for like the weak points, which I think was a clever little thing.
Was it clever though? I feel like he's just kind of stating the obvious. Like, these are the points you should go for: the neck, the groin, the chin, the temple. Of course.
I don't think it is that obvious. I think if you don't know how to fight, you wouldn't go for those. I mean, if you look at a real fight, it's just people flailing. There's no. It's just
I'm sure if people
harder.
could aim for stuff during a real fight, they would try to aim for those spots though. But it's more like, during a fight, you can't really think about that. You're just trying to like land blows. But because I don't know, I just found it like a really obvious thing to say. It's like the pointy end goes into the other guy. That's how you win a fight.
I don't know. I think it added a bit more like to her character when she does fight, because you'll be assuming that she's thinking of that when she is fighting someone.
Sure.
And you do see it. Like she'll go for like, the Achilles, she'll go for the wrists. She usually goes for like the neck.
She goes for the groin once.
Yeah. No, a couple of times she goes for the groin.
Yeah.
I guess the story comes from a lot of those like Hong Kong undercover cop stories. I think the first one that I can remember that did it was City on Fire with Chow Yun-fat, and which was like the base for Reservoir Dogs. And of course, I guess the most famous one is Infernal Affairs, which The Departed was remade of.
Yeah.
And both really great films.
Yeah, if you haven't seen them, you should check them out, because, they're Departed is based off Infernal Affairs, but they are both very different films. Not so much in plot, but in terms of style and tone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're both worth a watch for different reasons. I still find it hard to choose which one I prefer. Yeah, it's hard. They're both good.
Yeah.
Watch them.
I think
if you haven't watched them.
It's funny because I watched The Departed first, and Martin Scorsese is a master at his craft. So I, on a controversial opinion, like The Departed more. I had a bit of an argument with my
I'm sure you'll never stop having that argument. Yeah. People have strong opinions.
But you were talking about the styles of the film, and obviously one is from the East and one's from the West. Like, what do you think distinguishes this crime story between East and West? Like, what are some distinct
definitely
aesthetics?
The grittiness is much more apparent in Western films. Like, The Departed, just as an example, everyone looks so dirty and sweaty,
It was from Boston.
From Boston. They're very rough around the edges. Everything is very rough. Whereas in Infernal Affairs, it's quite slick looking. The police station is very clean. It's the cleanest police station I've ever seen.
Gangsters are always in like suits.
Yeah. The gangsters are very clean as well. And everyone's got slick hair. Everyone's quite glossy. And I think that's just an Asian aesthetic. You see it a lot in other films, not just gangster films.
I feel like as you were saying, East gangster films are very slick, and they're a bit more of a fantasy. They're a bit more glorified. Whereas the Western films, they do the gritty realism really well, which in its own sake glorifies its violence too. They're both done really well, and like I really love a good gangster flick, whether it comes from the East or West. Departed being one of my favorites, yeah. But with Scorsese doing Goodfellas and Casino, even Gangs of New York, if you want to call that a gangster film.
Oh yeah, it's in the title.
Yeah,
good film too. Yeah, but yeah, My Name, like I think it sets itself up really quickly and really efficiently, and like to talk about style as well, like we mentioned, in Eastern gangster films it's quite slick, whereas in Western gangster films it's quite gritty. I think this kind of treads some kind of middle ground. Like you do have the boss Choi Moo-jin, who's quite a slick character. He's second in command. What's his name? The guy that's driving him around. He's quite clean cut.
He's very handsome.
Yeah.
For a 50-year-old man.
Right.
I'm like, Jesus, I wish I looked like that when I was 50.
No, but even his driver is like, he's very clean cut as well. He's got good posture.
Yeah.
But then you've got the other side of it, like the lower tier gangsters. They're all like sweating in a gym. They're all like scruffy and shirtless and gross looking. And you also see kind of the underbelly of Seoul. And it is quite dirty, especially the stuff to do with the drug dens and things like that. So yeah, I think it does kind of tread a middle ground in terms of, tone and the look of it. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, depending on what you're looking for, yeah?
Yeah, I just want to make a note about the soundtrack of the show.
What do you think?
I'd have to say it's quite a jump. The director, Kim Ji-min, had watched Bo Burnham's Inside. It's like, I want that guy to write the music for the show.
It was the first thing I heard. Literally the first thing you texted me, and I was like, okay, I'll keep an ear out for it. And like the first song that started playing is the Jeffrey Bezos song.
For viewers who might be a bit confused that Bo Burnham's contribution to this show, he didn't do the soundtrack. There's a song, if you've seen Inside and listened to the Bezos song,
it's all over Instagram as well.
The very first scene in My Name is there's a song which sounds exactly like Bezos until the vocals come in, but I could not get that out of my head. Every time that song came on, I was just expecting...
It comes on a lot throughout the show as well.
It comes on a lot in the first half. I'm glad that they didn't use it that much, but that's because I could just not stop hearing Bo Burnham going, Jeffrey Bezos.
It's uncanny.
I was rewatching the first scene, and it's scarily funny how much the song fits, because the Bezos song is about Jeffrey working hard to get his fame, and she's literally listening to like an MP3 player and listening to, it sounds like she's listening to Bezos. I just
which isn't
really
like out of the realm of possibility too, because that song is kind of everywhere. Yeah. And she's a young person. She's probably on Instagram Reels and TikTok.
Well, let's just talk about the protagonist and her love for Bo Burnham. Like, what do you think about her character?
Her character was good. I think the actress So-Hee does a really good job in portraying somebody who's kind of like very thirsty for revenge, but at the same time quite a vulnerable person. Like she's got a lot of anger, but at the same time, she is a frail lady. Well, yeah, but like living in this kind of
she's naive. Yeah.
Danger. Yeah, she's naive, and like at the start, she's quite blinded by anger, so she makes some terrible choices, but then she kind of learns to channel that anger towards her goals, her goal of revenge. And I feel like she did most of the action herself, probably. Looked like she got really fit to do this show.
Apparently the actress gained 10 kilos of muscle to prep for the role.
Sure.
Like from some of the behind the scenes stuff that I've seen on YouTube, she has done the action herself. With just the way the film is edited, there's probably some parts where they use a stunt person, because it does have a bit more of a slightly more rapid fire editing than maybe some other martial artist films. But she hasn't been training martial arts her whole life. So-Hee has mostly done romance dramas. She's only been on TV shows. She hasn't done any films. And I think she got prominent from playing like a kind of an antagonist in another TV show called The World of the Married, where she got a lot of hate comments because people couldn't distinguish drama versus reality.
Oh, okay. So they thought she was like a homewrecker in real life.
A mega bitch. Yeah, it's like a mega bitch.
Okay,
but
that fandom.
Yeah, I really have to commend her on the action scenes, because all the action scenes, they're good. Like,
Yeah, I think she does her part really well. Like, I have a bit to say about the editing, but like the stuff that she does in it is all looks really good, and I can tell that she's put a lot of hard work into it, even if the editing might have let her down a little bit. Like you mentioned, it is slightly more rapid fire than maybe some of the other stuff we've talked about. Even Kate is probably less cut up than this. But it does have a lot of standout moments, like in terms of action. I feel like it was a little bit inconsistent, the quality of the action. Sometimes it was really dark as well and like hard to see. And that in addition to like a little bit of shaky cam and a lot of cutting, it made me like not so keen on some of the action.
Some scenes could have been better.
But the good action was really good.
But like, what were some of the key action fights for you?
I like all the well-lit fights. The fights that are kind of like not happening in a dark alley. And that's most of them, for like the majority of the series, she's fighting in kind of well-lit areas. There are only a few that were kind of like just a dark mess for me. But I love a good kind of one-on-one fight. So there are a couple of nice one-on-one fights that happen throughout the series.
One of them is quite random, which is not really a spoiler, but it's kind of like a dude who's just really good at fighting. It comes out of nowhere.
You see him a little bit.
I didn't remember. I'm like, there's a particular fight where it's kind of like before a big moment in the film. It was like, oh, this guy's just really awesome. Yeah. It's kind of like, for lack of a better reference, the tracksuit guy in Taken 2. It's just like,
but it's better than that.
It's way better. That's a bad reference. I watch bad movies too, guys, so it's all right.
I think for the most part the action is quite good, and for the most part the story I think holds up quite well. I'll talk a bit more about it when we get to spoilers, but I think as a package it works quite well.
I think for me this is like comfort watching.
Sure.
Like I've seen this story done a lot, so I knew all the plot points that were going to happen from like the second episode. I mean, I just knew it, but you kind of just let yourself go and just enjoy, the craft. There's a lot of, nicely lit shots. The acting is really good. As you said before, So-Hee does a really great job at portraying strong but vulnerable. She's flawed and she doesn't know everything, and she isn't invincible, even though at some points she's fighting dudes like twice her size and like not really breaking too much of a sweat. But she does get injured and she is vulnerable, and she lets herself feel sad at times, and like she can be hesitant. And I like, as I was saying before, I like watching a strong female lead like this. Or even just a strong lead like this in general. But they need to have flaws.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I see that kind of movie where there is a strong female character, being physically strong is their only trait. Whereas it's like, that's not really realistic. Even with dudes, like, if just being strong is a trait, you're not really a great character.
Sure.
So I like to see flaws.
You gotta have
I like to
something.
see.
You gotta have amnesia or something, or you know, you gotta. I don't know what else. You gotta have a radioactive isotope coursing through your veins and only have 24 hours to live. Yeah.
But that's the thing with Kate as well. There were moments where she was vulnerable, and there were moments where there were just kind of more scenes where the character had made mistakes. And I think that's important. Like, you know, sometimes these strong characters don't make mistakes, and it's like praised for being the pinnacle, where it's like, it's not very realistic.
I don't know. I feel like, especially with the kind of show or movie where it's like a female assassin, it's always playing on the fact that they're vulnerable as well as badass. Like, if you think about every movie or TV show of that genre, like, I feel like they really play on the fact that the lead is a woman. So, like, even though she is kicking ass, she is vulnerable. And I don't know, like, I think maybe the only exception I can think of is Atomic Blonde, in that she's kind of just a capable badass. Like, she doesn't have that kind of vulnerable feminine side, but every other you know, one I can think of, they do play on that. And I feel like I've kind of seen it before. Like, maybe I just want to see, like, the female equivalent of Jason Bourne. You know, you don't need to always make them vulnerable. I don't know. That's just me.
I really liked Jean Purdu, the partner of the protagonist.
Yeah, I liked him more than I thought
grows.
I was going to.
Yeah, me too. Because he does a pretty good job at being an unlikable jerk at the start. But then when you find out his motivations and why he's become a cop, and he is full of like wisdom, you know. So
yeah.
But then again, he knows this stuff because he gets tricked a lot. Yeah. And he himself becomes uncertain of things, and he himself like makes mistakes. And I think that's what drew him, because he like fucks up as well, you know, and he doesn't know everything, but the stuff that he's experienced and the advice that he gives to Hye-jin is like, it's good, it's palpable. Makes sense.
I think he does a good job. I think them together, you know, I wasn't quite sold on, you know, the bond that they form. But I don't think that's any fault of the two actors. I think, I don't know, maybe it was a...
might have been the plot,
yeah. Or a pacing issue, or, it's just something was missing a little bit.
You saw hints of it. I kind of didn't want them to go down that route. I would have preferred if it was less romantic, but there were just moments where you can tell that it was going down there.
I really like the dad. He is probably my favorite character. So the lead's dad, Yoon Dong-hoon, just...
hang on. I'm hearing... let's pause for a second. Motorbike. No, I just keep recording.
Yeah.
Maybe it's she's coming to beat the shit out of you, Dan.
Yeah, probably. For calling her vulnerable.
For viewers who don't know, the lead is often riding a motorcycle and looking pretty slick, and before going to beat up people. So this podcast might end abruptly if we hear they go, oh.
I just gotta protect my neck and my groin and my temple and all the obvious vital points. You know, if I can do that, I'll be fine. She doesn't know anything else.
But yeah, you're saying the dad.
Yeah, I like the dad.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, I just have a soft spot for those lovable oaf type characters, and I guess that's the point of them, is, you know, and like his development throughout the show, even though, you know, he's not in a lot of the show, is quite good. But yeah, the whole cast is doing a great job. Like, Park Hee-Soon is really believable as a slick mob boss.
He's a very handsome man.
Yeah.
When it's like, yeah, he's around mid-50, he's around 50. I'm like, what the fuck? You know?
So handsome.
I think I look worse than him at 32.
Oh, yeah.
than he does
For
at
sure.
50.
I mean, we all do. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like the even the narcotics captain, you know, he's acting his ass off.
Yeah, he's pretty well casted because he looks
He looks like a soccer coach.
Yeah, but
for a lot of it.
he looks fishy, which is kind of his role, and
Yeah.
it kind of adds to the story,
Sure.
which we'll probably get into in the spoilers section.
Well, should we
But
just
yeah.
do spoilers, you reckon? Before we do spoilers, what do you think about this show? Do you think it's worth a look or not?
Do you think it's going to be the next Squid Game?
I think if you're looking for Squid Game, you're going to be disappointed. I feel like
it's nothing like Squid Game.
Yeah.
It really isn't. I mean, for people who are listening to us, there are actually other Korean properties other than Squid Game.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm sure the people that are listening to this podcast know that.
But I think
for people
it's
who
kind
are,
of like, because it's coming out so closely after Squid Game, like Netflix is clearly just pushing this show as like, you know, here's something to replace the void that was
it's like,
yeah.
if it was like the 90s, like people would just like sneak in property titles to bank off the success. So this could be like Squid Game subtitle my name, where it has like
Squid
nothing to
name.
do. Squid name. Undercover squid.
So should people watch this?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a big fan of Bo Burnham, I'd definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's fine. I think it you know, it's got its flaws, which I'll get into. But yeah, it's fine.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed this series just for how easy it was to watch, because I really like undercover cop stories, and I guess it's the same kind of thing when you watch something very predictable. It's just sometimes it's just comforting, and I think I got that feeling from this show. So yeah, grab some snacks and a beer and watch the relatively short series, only 8 episodes.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk spoilers then. So
yeah, you knew Moojin was going to be the bad guy at the end. At a point, right?
Well, I mean, almost immediately.
Because he's talking to Taeju, the handsome bodyguard character, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't trust her, but nah, she'll do her job." And I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm sure he's actually not a good dude, but it's alright."
Sure, I don't know. It's just something about it. It's probably all the other undercover cop stuff that we've watched in the past. But yeah, as soon as I saw him, I was like, yeah, this guy got your dad killed. For sure. 100%. So, yeah, when it was revealed, I don't know if it was a huge reveal. It wasn't to me anyway.
Wasn't to me, but we're talking about John Pudel.
Yeah, that was more of a surprise to me than anything in the show.
Because I was expecting them to team up. Let's go catch him together. Let's finish this. And then, like, as soon as I saw Moojin rock up in the bike, at that moment, like, oh no.
Yeah.
You're going to kill Pildu. Like, no,
and they hadn't killed anyone, besides her dad. And some bad guys. Like, they hadn't killed any good characters. The captain gets stabbed a whole bunch, but he doesn't die, But Pildu just gets headshotted and immediately killed, which was good. Like, when they were at the beach house, I thought, it was going to be that thing where he convinces her not to carry out her revenge, but then she handcuffs him to the bed and sneaks off or something like that. I thought that was going to happen for sure. But then she didn't do that, which, I'm guessing they kind of anticipated that response from viewers, so they went another direction.
To subvert your view.
Yeah, so he actually does convince her to give up her revenge. So
Until he gets shot in the head.
and then he just had to be gotten rid of, because of course she has to get her revenge. Of course she has to go confront Choi Moo-jin. Like, any other ending would have been really dissatisfying.
Yeah, it would have, unless they're like teamed up, and it's like.
But he wasn't all about the vengeance, you know. He was all about like getting proper justice.
Yeah, to catch him. Like, it would have been interesting if like she agreed, and then they did like another cop raid. And then there was a moment where she needed to test. She's tempted again, kind of like in that Seven style moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ending it's weird because I don't think it's a happy ending. But the way they kind of played it, it's kind of like she's changed for the better.
Yeah.
But she gives in to her revenge.
Yeah,
she becomes a monster. And it's just like, inspirational music. I'm like, I think I'm going to get revenge against all the people I don't like now.
Yeah. Like, I told you it was kind of dropping off towards the end. And like,
Episode 7, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, episode 7 and 8, I think, has a lot of like kind of introspective moments between the characters where they're kind of thinking about what they've done, and like they're both wounded and healing and stuff, and there's a lot of downtime, which I guess is necessary sometimes. But I think although the action does pick back up in the later episode, in the last episode particularly, like it still falls a bit flat for me. Like the ending that you mentioned, you know, the resolution is not a happy one.
Yeah.
But they play it off as it is. It's, yeah.
I like those I actually liked when it slowed down, because like I regularly watch 3 to 4 hour films, so I like watching characters be introspective, and like I like when things slow down, as obviously as long as there's a point. But sometimes even in just meandering, I don't mind it. I like to see characters live their everyday life to see what they do.
So you didn't mind the sudden romance of Pildo and Ji-woo?
Well, the thing is, like, I didn't really see that as a romantic moment. There was more romantic tension in other parts where he, like, pours her a drink at the barbecue, and her co-workers were kind of like, oh, look at this guy, man, this guy. And, but that scene, like, I didn't initially take it for a romantic moment. I took it as a guy who is trying to comfort his colleague. Obviously, there's probably, like, I could tell there was, like, some underlying tones, because, like, you know, 2 attractive people in a room and things are just gonna go one way. But, yeah, I didn't mind it. It's just, like, you know, it's just a good intention. And the whole show, she's kind of not really a great person to be around.
Sure. And that's
but
why
you kind of see them be human.
I don't know. That's kind of why for me it felt disingenuous, like on the show's part. It was like, because she is such a wet blanket, there's like basically no chemistry generated between them throughout the show. And like, sure, he's there when she's down as a colleague, but even then she kind of doesn't give him anything to work with. He just comes and they, like, I guess they have a drink and watch the snow, and then she falls asleep and he leaves. Like, and then later on, when they get to the beach house, like, I don't know, it's just kind of like tacked on to me. It felt like they were just going through the motions and ticking off boxes, like, because, yeah, they're both attractive, of course they have to get together, kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing. If they didn't go down the romantic route, I may have liked that more. Because like he's a guy who's out for his colleague who has just killed someone for the first time.
I just felt like it got really like K-drama-y towards the end. And there was a lot of meandering. Like I said before, it sets itself up really quickly and really well to be like this kind of, you know, Departed Infernal Affairs-esque story of infiltration and betrayal, and, you know, you don't know whose side who's on, and it's like there's tension because you don't want your identity exposed by either parties, kind of thing. But then at the end is kind of like, oh yeah, like there are no more twists, this is what it is. These two are gonna sleep together, and then she's gonna go get revenge. It was just, I feel like I expected more twists and turns and less introspection and romance, and I kind of wished they hadn't gone that route. Yeah, I guess that's just my personal preference.
Yeah. There's the evil guy. I forgot his name. He's kind of funny.
Do Gangje.
Yeah,
I really
Gangje,
liked his character at the start as well. He's like doing this kind of Jared Leto Joker kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
I know you're like a really over the top villain.
I did enjoy his
and
character.
I feel like they could have done a lot more with this guy. Like they set him up quite well. Like his origin story, I guess, where he gets his face scar, and when he comes back, I was like, oh, you see him from behind. I was like, oh, it's that guy. He's gonna turn around. He's gonna see his scar, and it's really good. And then, even then, it kind of wastes his character, I feel.
Yeah, he gets killed. What did you think about the moment where she kills him and she's distraught by
I
it?
feel like there would have been some much more serious repercussions for her career in real life, you know?
But like, I guess like if you had kind of dwelled on that, the story would have just been, elongated.
I mean,
so
I don't want to like rewrite shows to make them better, but I feel like they could have done a lot more with that moment, like, because he was the only one that kind of knew her secret, and I guess that's why she had to kill him. But I feel like it could have built a lot of tension in like if they were to capture him, or even if she were to shoot him, but he would have survived and been in a coma. They could have built a lot of tension around like that secret being revealed. But yeah, they just decided to kill him off, and then have like a lot of emotional turmoil on her part. But about the turmoil part, like, do you buy that she would react that way? Because, like, I had to think about it for a bit when she reacted the way she did when she killed someone. Because, like, I'm pretty sure she's done some things to other dudes that would have crippled them for life. But no murders, though. I feel like, I think that was the first time she killed someone.
But like it's probably a more because obviously I watched a lot of movies where like a cop will just kill someone and then like crack a joke, or like she's not Nathan Drake where she will snap someone's neck and
while making banter.
Making banter. So it's I think ultimately it is realistic that like because she wants to kill someone, but wanting and doing is a different thing.
To their merit, they do kind of bring that up a lot throughout the show. Like it takes a lot to kill someone. There's a big price to pay. Even Pildor is like talking about the first time he killed someone or something, and how it's not easy. So then I feel like when she did actually kill Gangje, I feel like her turmoil was earned. They had alluded to it enough for her to spend a bit of time grieving over this guy that, she should, by all accounts, hate and want to kill. But, wanting to kill someone and actually killing someone is quite different.
What do you think about the reveal of, the not so surprising reveal for us of Choi Moo-jin?
I find it funny how in every movie where there's a female assassin who gets trained to be a killer, I always find it funny how they're surprised when the old dude that raises them to become a trained murderer turns out to not be such a great guy.
I liked like her acting moment when she's driving the car and she like comes out of the car and it's like spewing from rage. Like I enjoy a good what we've like Boone and I have dubbed the saliva drooling Oscar moment where you are so overtaken with emotion that you basically
can't control your fluids. There's fluids coming out everywhere.
I like that scene. And I would imagine that it would have been a very intense shoot. I mean, aside from all the action sequences, sure, but like getting to that emotional intensity is not easy for anyone. Like the people on set, because I've done scenes or a scene like that and directed one, and it's it's really draining to do a scene like that where you need to really push your emotional boundaries, and like it really weighs down heavily on everyone on set. Well, I'm speaking for me. There might be some people who are just like, this bitch is fucking freaking out. Yeah, it's easy.
It's
man.
Easy.
Just hold the mic.
It's not all over the place.
But yeah, I enjoyed that scene a lot, and it takes a really talented actress to pull that off.
For sure. Yeah, like she really conveys the rage, if not surprise at the reveal. Yeah, it's good. I feel like the Choi Moo-jin character, I think they did a pretty good job at showing that he was actually friends with her dad at some point. Like,
I agree with that too.
I do buy his kind of feelings of betrayal on the dad's part. Like, Moo-jin really developed this bond with him, so then when he was betrayed and found out that he was a cop all along, you know, he did feel that kind of the same rage that she felt, you know, upon realizing that Moo-jin had betrayed her, which ultimately leads him to killing her dad.
There's a lot of empathy for the antagonist, I guess. You don't even really know. I mean, in a narrative sense, you don't know he's an antagonist until the last 2 episodes, but he is the antagonist. And like his acting is a bit more subtle, I guess. Like when he sees the corpse of Jun-tae, the bodyguard guy, you do see that he feels sad because he's, you know, sure he's just a goon, but like they, you know, he's starting up a gang together. Yeah,
he's got soft moments, and I think they're scattered throughout the show to make him like a likable character. Like, that driver guy, his right-hand man, he's quite hard on him throughout the whole show. Like, he obviously prefers Ji-woo, and that makes the other guy jealous, Taeju jealous. And Moo-jin kind of gives Taeju a hard time for not being able to do anything right. But I remember there's one point where he kind of acknowledges his effort. And he's like,
I remember that.
Let's go for a meal together. You know, you used to like that girl at that restaurant, right? How'd that go? I'm a good boss. So, I think it's those moments used sparingly that kind of humanize Moo-jin as a character. I feel like he does get way too philosophical at the end.
The predator and the prey thing.
What was that? That was skip that.
But speaking of that confrontation, I enjoyed it, and I liked the bloodiness of the floor as the fight progresses. It really reminded me of the last scene in the Raid 2, where there's basically just liters of blood on the floor.
Man from Nowhere as well. Like,
even Man from Nowhere. Because the fight scene, it's a pretty violent show.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of like, you know, people get slashed. You see like the flesh part. I think, they do the knife fights quite well. Like
Moo-jin stabs a motherfucker in the eye. He's like, ah! I'm like, whoa.
The fights, you know, I love a good knife fight, as I've said, and a good one-on-one knife fight, even better. So, the last, her fighting Taeju, probably my favorite sequence, because before she fights Taeju in her apartment, she fights a bunch of guys in the bathroom of her apartment, which is like, I love a close quarters fight scene as well. So there's like that close quarters fight scene followed closely by a one-on-one knife fight. That's good stuff. I love that shit.
That was a pretty cool segment.
I kind of like was hoping that there'd just be more moles in general, you know, like they had her as a mole on the cop side, and then it was revealed later that, you know, her dad was the police department's mole on the gangster side. So that's, but I thought there'd be like at least 2 more moles.
They kind of alluded to that maybe when the captain appears to meet Jun-tae, like in that scene where she gets spied, she spies those 2. But that didn't really amount to anything.
Well, I think that was just a ruse, I guess, on the captain's part, which was smart. I like that. But it was like the part where she finds out that the police department has cameras in the hotel. So I was like, at that point, I was like, oh, who's the cop? Like, who's the mole? You know, I was looking out for the police department's mole on the gangster's end. But then it just kind of turns out that it's her dad all along. And like, I don't think I was very surprised. But, you know, I thought they were going to do a full Departed where there's like...
Yeah, you wanted to go Infernal Affairs.
Everybody's a mole.
Yeah.
That guy's a mole. The guy in the background that you see once is a mole. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind the plot because I think overall I was really intrigued by the vengeance aspect of, because I just like that theme in a film. And anyone who's familiar with Korean cinema knows that they probably do it the best.
Sure. But at the same time, do you think the ending, like because she does get her vengeance, do you think that fit with the way the show was going? Was it satisfying for you?
I think when it departed the Infernal Affairs aspects from episode 7, I thought it was satisfying because I kind of wanted it to go back to revenge. I liked all the Infernal Affairs style stuff, but I wasn't actually expecting it to be that internal affairs. I'd seen the trailer, but I didn't remember aspects where she joins the police force. And then I was really quite surprised when Woojin like dismisses her pretty early on.
Yeah,
He's like,
same.
Yeah, see you later. I'm like, oh, she has a boxing bag montage and now she's a cop.
Right.
So I actually didn't expect that. And then it went like, yeah, you were saying it went full like Infernal Affairs.
Yeah. So I think I was kind of like, that kind of geared me up for Infernal Affairs, just watching a Korean Infernal Affairs, you know? So then when it, like towards the end, when it went to more of like a K-drama-y revenge direction, I was a bit let down, maybe. And yeah, the conclusion, you know, obviously she fights Mujin and it's amazing. It's an amazing fight. I think a big problem with these characters that you build up to be really slick is that inevitably when they start losing it and losing control and they become not so slick, it kind of detracts from their character a bit. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it just didn't quite stick the landing for me.
Yeah, I think I liked, you know, where it was leading and where it ended up. But I think post Mujin, I think the show's message still got a bit mixed up with just how it, like those literally last 2 minutes of the film where she visits her dad's grave and John, and she's like, yeah, she's got that look on her face where it's like, I've changed and my life is better.
Yeah.
I didn't really buy that because it's like, you've kind of given in to your vengeance, which I guess the show is trying to tell her that, you know, vengeance is not a good thing. You know, she's had a really shit life. And even her dad, in the letter that she finds says like, you know, live a good life. I mean, it's kind of like making her cake and having it. It's like, I can have a good life, but also get my revenge. It's like, yeah, you know, it kind of...
And then all it cost was Pildor's life.
Rest in peace, Pildor. That was the saddest moment in the film. I was like, oh man, Pildor. So, what did you think about the very Bond villain-esque escapade? What were your thoughts on that?
The part
scene?
where he Gang Jae puts them in a van that's going to be crushed. I mean, he's beaten them up. He's got he could easily kill them right there and then, but yeah, he decides to go Bond villain and puts them in a very easily escapable situation. Doesn't even stick around to see whether it's panned out or not. He just assumed that it's all gone to plan. You know, it's all very Dr. Evil. Yeah, I didn't like it, Tavi. How about you?
You didn't like it? I think it's very unrealistic, but I just enjoyed it for being a dumb action moment.
Why didn't he kill them? He's put them in this van to get crushed. They're going to die once this van it's crushed. Like, why not just kill them both, put them in the van to get crushed?
Because he's so enthralled with rage.
Like, was the idea that he wanted them to suffer in their last moments?
Yeah, it's not a great like moment in itself.
Like, I get that he's in a hurry and he has to leave. That's all the more reason to just kill them there and then.
Yeah.
And like, also in that scene, Gang Jae kind of reveals that he knows Yoon Ji-woo's real identity, but he kind of just tiptoes around it. Like, he's just vague enough when talking to Ji-woo that Pildo, he doesn't connect the dots immediately. He doesn't realize that Ji-woo is a mole, even though like they're kind of talking openly about it.
He's like, isn't he unconscious though?
He's
like,
not. Though.
I mean, you see he's moving around, which is obviously not a sign of being unconscious. Yeah, I feel like it was a bit contrived in a sense. It's just like, oh yeah, because I think maybe, I don't know, Pildo was giving her the benefit of the doubt, because at that point had she told him she wanted to catch someone, so he's probably like, oh yeah, this is very ominous talkings, but maybe she's not bad. But you're right, he doesn't say anything, and that actually reminds me of another scene where she runs into the cop that used to harass her dad.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Ooh, I know," but he doesn't reveal it. And it's like, "Oh, okay, so this is leading up to something."
Yeah.
But then Woojin just kills him.
He's killed immediately. He's killed immediately by that guy that you mentioned, the surprise last boss guy.
Yeah.
Like
is that the surprise last boss guy?
Yeah, that's the only other scene that I remember seeing this guy in is when he kills that corrupt cop, like with the garrote wire. And then the next scene that you see him in, he's the last boss before Mujin for some reason.
That's the whole reason of that subplot then, so you can see him
to set
just
that guy
suddenly
up.
beat up Ji-woo. And I didn't really like the way she beat him either. She just shoots him in the face.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. Yeah, she shoots him using the last bullet in her gun. So then and she establishes it previously that was the last bullet in her gun. So when she confronts Mujin and then he ultimately grabs her gun and is aiming it at her, the audience knows already that he's got no bullets in that gun.
Yeah.
So like, there's no threat in that, there's no tension in that final moment. Like, I don't know.
It's probably something that when you write it on a screenplay and you film it, you're like, this sounds like the coolest shit ever. But when you compile it, it's like, oh, well, that didn't really work. Hello, Mr. Producer. Can I have more money to film more scenes? No. Oh, okay. So I feel like that's probably what happened.
Maybe.
It's just like, it just seemed like it was better on paper than it was on the screen. Wanted to mention the another fairly big plot hole or plot convenience is during Pildo's moment, where whether I was, overcome with sadness for my boy Pildo, she gets away from the police like way too easily. Because in the context of the scene, she's driving, or Pildo is driving, and he gets shot, but they're about to meet the cops. They're at the cop station already, and they're like walking towards the car, and I'm pretty sure they can see that she's in the car from where they are. But when Pildo gets shot, what Ji-woo does is put on a hoodie and just walk away while everyone rushes to help Pildo, and it's and Pildo implies that they know that she's going to be there with them. But she's just like,
like they've come to meet them, like specifically to arrest her as well. At this point, they know she's a traitor and she's done some shit, even though she's had, she's been justified in doing so. So they've actively come to get her, and she just walks away from a gunshot as police are closing into that location. I guess hoodies make you invisible.
You just need some slow-mo and some sad music to pull you through, man. It's all good. That's all you need. And a black hoodie, which I guess maybe was the trying to run that black hooded motif, like the hiding yourself kind
Sure.
of thing.
There
Man. You just couldn't figure out a way to get her out of there. I imagine when he was writing, I was like, how the fuck am I gonna get her out of here?
Yeah.
And it was probably like 2 a.m. And like he probably just went to like eat some tteokbokki and soju, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna write this and go to sleep."
Yeah, there were a lot of bits where kind of like she manages subterfuge when it feels like that she shouldn't be. Like the whole thing where she's got a motorcycle. I feel like, she's riding this motorcycle to work.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
it's like, wait a minute.
There's a moment where Pildor fights someone wearing a motorcycle helmet, and like he's grabbing her and shit. So like, I feel like it's pretty obvious that he's fighting a woman at that point. Like when he's like got his arms around her. So yeah, I feel like probably should have connected the dots a bit sooner. I guess by the time he was able to, he was kind of blinded by his sudden love for her. I guess.
I mean, are you paying attention to your colleague? I guess. I mean, I would maybe notice when people. Who rides a motorcycle?
She was the only one in that squad to ride a motorcycle. I mean, like none of them.
Yeah, I mean, of course, people ride motorcycles, but I mean,
I feel like as a dude, you'd be obligated to be at least like, oh, cool bike.
Yeah,
and pretend like spend an awkward 5 minutes pretending stuff about motorcycles. You'd be having that conversation.
Oh man, 20cc.
Yeah. What kind of carburetor you got on that? Yeah. Oh, the 12-inch. I would have gone with the 18-inch. I reckon for a bike that size. That's just me though. I don't know that much about motorcycles. I rode a bit in college, but
it sounds like you do. I mean, I wouldn't be able to bullshit that much. It's like, oh man, it's got wheels, bro. Oh, they're thick as.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's common enough transport to dismiss it as like she's not the mole when she obviously is the mole.
Anyway, let's maybe we should begin to wrap this one up too.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, what did you think of My Name? Do you think it held up? Is there anything that you would have done differently? Is there anything similar in Korean television? Because I feel like I haven't.
There
really.
is.
Yeah, I guess there is.
If you're looking to watch some shows like this, there was a Korean drama called Girl Killer, where it follows a similar plot. 3 episodes only. And then there's the Korean film, The Villainess.
Oh, yeah, I've seen The Villainess. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like that. That's a great movie.
I'd probably watch that before this, to be honest.
I don't know. I kind of like them equally. I haven't had enough separation from, like, the show to fully pick one. But I'd say they're as good as each other. The Villainess and My Name.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let us know, guys. Did you like it? You can contact us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com, or you can join our Facebook group and be part of the discussion. Yeah, that's all from us today.
Yep. So, take care, everyone. Have a good weekend.
And if someone offers to adopt you and turn you into a trained killer, probably keep an eye on that person, I reckon, because they're probably up to something no good. Yeah, don't
even
don't
if
trust
they're
them.
As handsome as Choi Moo-jin,
especially if they're as handsome as Choi Moo-jin. Don't trust them, man. All right, guys, take care. Until next time.
See you later, guys.
Bye.